Hi everyone, so welcome to my YouTube channel. So today I'm going to be doing something slightly different. So I'm going to be doing a movie review of Arthur the King, which I recently watched. So first thing, straight off the bat, this is a heartwarming family film about a dog and a racing team, essentially. And it's a story about redemption, not only for the main character, but also about the dog, essentially. And it's about relationship between the dog, its backstory, and the team racing. So essentially, the story follows a team that goes adventure racing, and a dog essentially follows it after Mark Wahlberg feeds it some meatballs, essentially. And so it's starring obviously Mark Wahlberg, Simu Liu. So I love the Chinese representation for this. So yeah, good casting, and also Natalie Emmanuel, who was in Game of Thrones and Fast and Furious. So I've actually met Natalie Emmanuel while I was going for a lunch in Liverpool Street in London. I was going for lunch, and she was going for shopping or something. She had really short hair, so I don't think anyone noticed her. But yeah, I could recognize straight away. So yeah, great cast. Love the Chinese representation with Simu Liu. So essentially, yeah. So the story begins with Mark Wahlberg going on a previous race, and he's absolutely ruthless. So his team is essentially losing. They're kind of tired, sick or injured, and he just wants to keep going. So it kind of shows a ruthless side to that character. I also think Mark Wahlberg was a really good choice for this. Is a good balance between that relentless pursuit of greatness, but also he's obviously a nice person. He's quite down to earth, so I think it kind of fits with like the family, heartwarming film he's produced here. So it starts off with that race, but it's also a bit of backstory in the dog, and in terms of its hardship it faces. It's basically in the slums really, and it's really in a poor environment. It then follows Mark Wahlberg trying to gain sponsorship for a next race, because he's never won a race. He's raced for 20 years, but he's never won a race. So he's trying to get sponsorship, and then essentially, yeah, he's able to get sponsorship using a bit of his wife's money. Gathers a team with Simu Liu and Attila Manuel, and they begin to race. And so, yeah, this part to me was actually quite exciting. Both the story about the dog, but also the racing itself. I'm quite competitive, and I like to be quite athletic in terms of the sports I compete with. And yeah, I just like that stuff. So that part appealed to me, that adventure racing thing. Maybe I'll try and do one in the future. So they essentially race, and yeah, as you can imagine, it's quite tough. There's a really interesting scene with the zip line, and I just to not do any spoilers, but like I just knew what was going to happen. I just got an instinct about, sometimes in films I knew exactly what was going to happen in the zip line, and yeah, it was quite an engaging scene really. And so yeah, Mark Wahlberg kind of feeds a dog a meatball, and they continue racing. The dog kind of follows them throughout the way, and yeah, they as the race goes on, they develop a relationship. Like the dog is kind of saving them at one point, and yeah, it's just really great to have a companion. And so, what was really interesting about the dog storyline is also the redemption arc for Mark Wahlberg's character as well. So, at the beginning, you see him incredibly ruthless, uh, wanting to win at all costs at the expense of his teammates, even though his teammates are struggling, etc. And there's a redemption arc at the end where, kind of, when they're towards the finish, they can potentially win it. So it first starts with Simu Liu becoming ill, and Mark Wahlberg actually takes a surprising action in terms of letting the team rest, letting Simu Liu get better again, and continue the race. So that's one thing. So you see a kind of change there in terms of his attitude towards racing and the team. The next one is when they're just about to finish and potentially win after their last kayak. The dog is actually getting in their way, because the dog cannot actually go on the kayak with them. So the dog is actually running on the beach, and then suddenly just jumps in the water and tries to swim to them. But then Mark Wahlberg makes the call to go back to the dog, save the dog, and then finish the race afterwards. So yeah, very nice redemption arc for this film. And so, as I said, this is a very heartwarming film. It's a very family oriented film. And I find that nowadays, a lot of films try to be outrageous or they try to do something incredibly strange or weird to like catch the attention of people watching and then it will spread through word of mouth, etc. Depending on how outrageous it is. So I find a lot of films are just trying to like be outrageous for the sake of virality, where I don't know, people like me, they kind of miss the heartwarming films maybe in the from the 2000s where it was like a lot of family oriented heartwarming films like Free Willy, etc. All these films are not outrageous at all. They're very family oriented. Nothing, you know, it's going to be a nice ending in the end. So sometimes nowadays, I feel like a lot of people actually want that. They don't want all this outrageous stuff in terms of films, horror, etc. They just kind of just want a family orientated film just to watch, have a good time, something that you can watch with your parents or your kids. Really, you don't want something completely outrageous that you're watching your parents, etc. So for that reason, I really enjoyed this film. It was just something different from the norm, from the outrageous obscenities that you see in other films. So it was really good in that sense. So overall, I'd give this film like A minus or B plus for this, and yeah, just really enjoyed it. And yeah, so hopefully you found this review useful, and hopefully you check out Arthur the King. And if you like this content, please comment, like, and subscribe.